Everyone is presently arguing the same subject on social media. In the end, did Yandy Smith choose to divorce Mendeecees? And if so, is the true cause of it Tamar Braxton's recent court battle? Reports that Tamar and Mendeecees were embroiled in a significant legal dispute and that Yandy supposedly took the awful choice to dissolve her marriage in the midst of all. Fans are stunned. Rumors abound in tabloids, and nobody seems to be aware of the location of the real truth. Did he ship your uterus, or did Yandy reach her breaking point? What are you doing with the, are you messing with me? I believe that I am a man. Did Mendeecees' reputation be totally ruined by Tamar's accusations? The most important issue of all is whether we are seeing a real-life sorrow that is even more honest than reality TV, or whether this is simply another marketing ploy. There seems to be division in the industry. In general, Yandy's devoted followers and Tamar's supporters are at odds on social media, each fervently defending their choices. The enigma is further compounded by the fact that neither Yandy nor Tamar have issued an official statement. Everybody has the same question. Is one of the most talked about reality TV couples coming to an end? Or is it just what it looks like? What do you mean when it doesn't appear that way? Your uterus was shaken. Man, you're playing with me. I'm mudding up because of you. Go play games with the start of a larger controversy that will explode out. I'm not that kind of... The atmosphere in romantic and hip-hop communities has radically changed. What seemed to be a close-knit community of influential wives and celebrities has now become a battlefield of accusations, heartache, and treachery. In the middle of it all is Yandy Smith, a lady who was long regarded as Mendeecees Harris's pillar of devotion and strength. For an entirely other cause, her name is presently in the headlines. However, there are rumors that she filed for divorce after her husband and Tamar Braxton's dramatic court battle. It all began with allegations that Tamar had sued Mendeecees for allegedly behaving inappropriately at what was meant to be a business meeting. Mendeecees has always presented himself as a devoted spouse and father who is working to overcome his difficult background. Many were taken aback. Because of this, no one was ready for the uproar over Tamar's name. Tamar was upset and sobbing, according to those close to her. According to reports, she informed acquaintances that the Mendeecees had humiliated and assaulted her. However, as usual, layers of contradicting accounts, missing information, and internet conjecture seem to be hiding the truth. According to reports, Yandy got the news while getting ready for a brand event at her Atlanta home. According to reports, she learned about it via a friend who saw the story becoming viral online before she could even comprehend what was happening. According to an insider, the situation was chaotic, with Yandy pacing in shock as her phone continued to vibrate with notifications. At first, she didn't reply, thinking it was simply another online hoax that would go away. However, when more media outlets began, the scenario became unavoidable since legal papers were mentioned in the coverage. According to Yandy's friends, she tried contacting Mendeecees right away, but he didn't respond. Hours it took him a while to answer her call, and by then the harm had already been done. According to a person close to the couple, there was a lot of tension and tears throughout their chat. What did you do? And what were your words to her? Were allegedly the questions Yandy requested answers to. Mendeecees refuted all of this, claiming that the claims were overstated and that Tamar was distorting the facts. However, Yandy was not persuaded, because she was aware that a controversy of this magnitude had dominated the internet. The chaos often obscured the truth. Celebrities began to comment as well. Tamar apparently received advice to stay strong from some of her closest pals. Others cautioned that publicizing such accusations may exacerbate the situation. Fans' divergent views on social media prompted a quick response from the entertainment sector. Some, on the other hand, backed Mendeecees and said that the entire thing was just another attempt by the media to discredit Black families in the entertainment industry. Others applauded Tamar for coming out and offered support. Hashtags like Sour Stand with Tomorrow Bombed Team Yandy and Protect Mendeecees were used since the subject had become so contentious. Yandy, who had supported the Mendeecees through prison time, financial hardships, and public controversies, was abruptly forced to reconsider all of her marriage-related views. Insiders claim that she slept very little for days, mentally going over previous conversations in an effort to find any hints she may have overlooked. Was there ever a tight connection between Mendeecees and Tamar? Had anything occurred on site or at an event that she didn't know about? Every question that remained unanswered seemed like a fresh injury. In a few ambiguous social media postings, Mendeecees attempted to manage the matter quietly by talking about the truth coming to light and being rooted in religion, which further fueled speculations. Fans started paying close attention to every word, attempting to determine if he was defending himself or admitting guilt. Conversely, Tamar remained mostly quiet with the exception of a few cryptic tweets that suggested emotional pain and disappointment, such as, "Some people you trust will turn your peace into your trauma." Her fans were frantically attempting to decipher who she was talking to. 2. When court records that had been leaked started to circulate online, the strain reached a breaking point. According to blogs, Tamar had filed a legal case. Despite the absence of official proof, there was a complaint citing unwelcome approaches and upsetting interactions with Mendeecees. The mere prospect of appearing in court was enough to put an end to any aspirations for privacy, despite the lack of concrete evidence. When the legal issue was raised, Yandy's decision became evident. She was also unable to defend the Mendeecees because of how openly everything was being played out. According to some who were close to the marriage, Yandy and the Mendeecees had a heated disagreement at home. Yandy asked him bluntly, "What happens to me if I stick by you now and it turns out you're lying? What happens to what we have built?" Yandy had had enough of Mendeecees trying to convince her that he was innocent and that the truth will come to light. She seemed devastated, as if she had lost both her marriage and her trust in the person she believed to be her closest confidant. By the end of that week, many media sites started claiming that Yandy and her legal team had spoken about divorce. Her representatives didn't confirm it right away, but people close told her that the decision took years to make rather than being made in a hurry. To keep the marriage together for so long, she had endured many trials. However, this one had a unique feel. This went beyond rumors. It was about being humiliated in public and experiencing a level of betrayal from which she would never completely recover. As the days went by, the controversy only intensified. It was a topic that reporters covering entertainment, news shows, and gossip websites couldn't stop discussing. Yandy was portrayed by some chastised her for divorcing her spouse too soon, while others saw her as a strong woman who was at last breaking free from a cruel cycle. However, many people who knew her well said that behind the headlines, she was tired of being the one to make things right, of pretending that the public view didn't hurt, and of trying to keep her family together while everyone else watched it come apart. In spite of all the commotion, Tamar stayed oddly silent, concentrating instead on advertising her new endeavors. Her unwillingness to engage in theater was seen by some as a sign of maturity, and by others as a sign of regret. Nevertheless, the harm had been done. Tamar Mendeecees and Yandy had one of the most discussed entertainment-related subjects, but nobody was sure how it would turn out. What had seemed to be distinct lives had united to create a complicated scandal that was now unavoidable. The consequences of the controversy only became worse as the weeks passed. There were fresh whispers, fresh emotions, and fresh emotional injuries. Everyone felt free to take a side in the internet dispute, which had become a battlefield of viewpoints. Tamar's supporters were vehemently defending her, sharing quotes from her past discussions about pain and betrayal, and asserting that they had always thought she was a strong self-advocate. But the three of them were obviously at odds with one another, and things were far worse behind closed doors than anybody had imagined. But a few of Mendeecees and Yandy's supporters called the whole episode media manipulation, and disputed that he was capable of doing so. Insiders said Mendeecees was become more and more keen to steer the conversation. He began contacting their common acquaintances in an attempt to persuade them to publicly support him and attest to his good character. A few did, claiming that Tamar's comments were misunderstood and did not accurately reflect the guy they knew. However, others choose to remain silent in order to avoid being entangled in a legal and emotional quagmire. As said by Mendeecees even made an attempt to have a direct conversation with Tamar in an attempt to resolve the matter, according to a person acquainted with the circumstances. However, she wouldn't talk to him without her lawyer there. That choice made logical, but it only encouraged rumors that there was more to the narrative than what was being revealed. Meanwhile, Yandy had distanced himself from the spotlight. Her abrupt silence spoke a lot for a woman who is renowned for being self-assured and commanding. She stopped sharing pictures of her family online, canceled her planned public engagements, and stayed away from any interviews. A subdued sadness had taken the place of her customary cheerfulness, and everybody who saw her noted that she seemed aloof. According to one acquaintance, Yandy was grieving her marriage and treating it as if it were a loss she could still feel, but could no longer identify with. She had stood up for Mendeecees for years when others doubted his commitment. However, that same allegiance suddenly seemed burdensome. When Tamar arrived at a charity function and was questioned on television about whether she had talked to Yandy since the news emerged, the tension reached yet another high. When she paused, took a big breath, and simply whispered, "I pray for her," the audience became quiet for a while, uncertain of how to react. Is it weariness from all the public attention, pity, or a subtle message? Regardless, her remarks brought the internet conversation back to life. Supporters saw it as evidence that Tamar had made an effort to maintain harmony, but was unable. At around the same time, a shocking new rumor started making the rounds on social media. Alleged letters from months ago between Mendeecees and Tamar. It was explosive, even though the legitimacy of the contents was never verified. While some thought the contacts were fake and potentially meant to cause drama, others said they were sincere and marked the beginning of a relationship that ultimately spiraled out of control. They hinted to talks that at first seemed friendly, but soon got more personal, with praises and late-night check-ins that many believed went beyond what was proper for a married guy. Whatever the truth of the messages that were released, they seriously harmed Mendeecees' image and made it almost hard for him to win back the public's favor. According to reports, Wendy's friends reminded her that she didn't owe anybody an explanation and urged her to maintain her composure while concentrating on her kids. But the idea of being portrayed as the shattered wife was too much for Yandy, who was always suspicious. Her goal was to regain control over her own life, not the story or even Mendeecees. As a consequence, she started secretly collaborating with her legal team, making a public declaration and investigating her divorce options. She didn't want a difficult divorce or any public arguments, according to insiders. All she wanted was tranquility. The media prevented her from moving on, despite her best efforts. Following her around, paparazzi snapped photos of her leaving her attorney's office. The images went viral, with titles such as "Divorce Papers in Motion" and "Yandy Finally Done." Mendeecees was starting to accept the reality of his situation. He used to be one of the most respected men in the hip-hop and romance scenes, but he was now the subject of ongoing controversy. His friends described him as reclusive, and I evaluate him as well as Tamara or Yandy. Regardless of the exact facts, he knew that perception had already become reality. He began avoiding events, declining interviews, and keeping out of sight. However, there were ongoing accusations said he was trying to repair his relationship with Yandy, that he was organizing a public appearance, and that he was getting therapy. These all added to the drama, even though none of them were confirmed. Came after one of the most moving moments of the whole event. Mendeecees and Yandy reportedly met behind closed doors at a restaurant to discuss the future of their relationship. From the start, the encounter was awkward. A witness said that Mendeecees seemed nervous and kept looking at his phone. Yandy appeared first, looking composed yet hesitant. When they finally sat down, the air between them was thick with unspoken words. Mendeecees seems remorseful yet defensive. The witness said that Yandy seemed composed but distant. Yandy reportedly said in a hushed voice, "You have no idea how this feels." Mendeecees apparently tried to explain, saying he was taken out of context and set up, but Yandy didn't believe him. "For I have to keep acting like I'm okay while everyone is talking about your spouse and another lady. According to accounts, the discussion ended without a resolution, and Yandy departed first, keeping her head high despite her tears, while Mendeecees remained behind, looking at the vacant seat in front of him. According to those who know them, he recognized he had really lost her at that point. The narrative went viral on social media. "We were cheering you on in the comments area on their old couple images, and it is upsetting that fans are posting things like this in the media right now." Celebrities who often stayed out of disputes started to react, referring to it as some claimed it demonstrated how even the most solid relationships can be ruined by celebrities, while others said it was a lesson in limits. Meanwhile, Tamar seemed to have regained her strength. She began to appear more often in public, displaying a composed and self-assured manner, even if she remained to avoid any direct mention of the occurrence. Her vague remarks about mending and moving on with grace were seen by many as subconscious delusions of what had really happened. Critics asserted that while admirers admired her elegance, silence only served to heighten the mystery. Had she forgiven Mendeecees? Has she spoken to Yandy in private? Nobody knew, but everyone was looking for answers. Yandy, Mendeecees, and Tamar had all turned into symbols in a tale that blurred truth and perception, both public and private. The harm inflicted by the controversy would also linger much longer than anybody had predicted, even if the incident's headlines would eventually fade. As the narrative progressed, one thing became evident. This was not your normal rumors about famous people. It has become into a symbol of authentic human emotions like suffering, betrayal, and the challenge of moving on when the outside world refuses to allow you. The narrative took yet another startling turn as public interest increased. Yandy abruptly broke her weeks-long quiet with an incredibly poignant Instagram Live. She expressed gratitude to her admirers for allowing her room and time to reflect, but her composure wavered as the minutes passed. She discussed devotion, betrayal, and the pain of discovering that the person you once defended may have been living a different life in private. She said, tears welling up in her eyes, "I believed in love. I had faith in him, but sometimes faith is insufficient." "Stay strong, Yandy, and you deserve better," were among the supportive remarks sent by thousands of viewers. Shortly after, "Truth always exposes itself," an enigmatic tweet from Tamar herself added fuel to the fire. There was disagreement among fans on the intended recipient of the tweet. Some believed it was aimed at Mendy, implying that she had completed her defense of him. Some believed it was meant for Yandy, implying that there were hidden levels that no one was aware of. Regardless, the tweet ignited long-standing disputes and went viral. Talk programs broadcast it, websites scrutinized every word, and detractors conjectured that Tamar may be getting ready to talk about her legal dispute and the circumstances surrounding it. Tamar's legal team was reportedly working on a comprehensive case behind the scenes, according to persons with knowledge of the issue. She apparently felt dehumanized and desired responsibility in order to lead by example as well as for herself. According to an insider, Tamar got supportive messages from other working women, some of whom subtly acknowledged that they had gone through similar experiences, but they were too scared to tell anybody. Opponents accused her of hyperbole, but the support made her more determined. "They can call it whatever they want. I'm not going to back down," Tamar reportedly said to a pal. But Mendeecees was having a hard time repairing his image. "I know my truth." According to reports, his management staff suggested that he release a statement, but each one they created appeared to exacerbate the matter. He might come out as callous if he denied all of it. However, it would seem as if he was acknowledging his culpability if he apologized. He was apprehended between the two extremes and opted to keep quiet, which paradoxically made matters worse. His silence was seen by some fans as a show of maturity and by others as a sign of guilt. When court records indicating that Yandy had formally filed for divorce started to circulate online, it was a tipping point. Although she and Mendeecees did not publicly recognize it, those who had followed their love story for years were crushed. The formal petition, which stated mental suffering and irreparable disagreements, seemed real. "We watched them," according to one commentator, "battle for one another through it all, and this is how everything comes to a conclusion," as if all of the spectators were bemoaning a relationship in which they had made an investment. Yandy was characterized as deeply hurt, yet unwavering among her tight group. According to reports, she was attempting to maintain stability while her world collapsed. By concentrating on her kids, she periodically cried hysterically, according to a close friend, not because she missed Mendeecees, but more because she was taken aback by how chaotic and public things had become. "She is a powerful lady, but she is still human," the acquaintance said. Yandy maintained Mendeecees wasn't behaving in the same way, and she didn't deserve to have her sorrow made public. He was angered and disappointed by how fast things went apart, according to those close to him, but an informant said he was overheard saying one night, "They made me a villain before I ever had a chance to describe." Despite this, there were claims that he had tried many times to speak privately with Tamar and Yandy, claiming he was set up for failure and accused the media of manufacturing the narrative. Photographers saw Tamar moving boldly while wearing all white, but these efforts were either courteously dismissed or ignored. One of the most widely shared images of the month, her face was calm yet unreadable, a symbol of resilience in the face of catastrophe. Following the hearing, her team issued a short statement stating that she was dedicated to fans were left wondering since she neglected to address any personal or emotional difficulties, allowing the facts to be dealt in the appropriate context. The drama carried on after that, with an ex-associate of Mendeecees claiming to have seen messages between him and Tamar long before things went wrong. This person said that there had been flirting on both sides, and that their relationship wasn't only professional. If that were true, it would suggest that they had a more tangled relationship together that made it hard to tell friendship from anything more. But Tamar's team quickly dismissed the piece as a diversion, claiming that the focus should be on the court case and her experience. When Yandy spoke on finding harmony in the middle of turmoil at a women's empowerment event a few days later, the crowd applauded when she stated, "We don't get to select every chapter, but the way we flip the page is up to us." Many see this as an effort to reclaim authority after months of public misery. Her life, meantime, started to progressively get better. Following weeks of quiet, she eventually made the divorce public with a quick social, "Sometimes endings are blessings in disguise," said a media post. However, a fresh conflict surfaced when internet users discovered security breaches just as everything seemed to be calming down. Video from a hotel that was purportedly connected to the night of the original incident. It was hazy and unclear, but it seemed to show Tamar leaving a room in distress and then Mendeecees seeming distraught for a short while. Later, the video became viral on many platforms in a matter of hours, rekindling all of the previous queries. Was this the evidence Tamar needed, or was there no way to confirm its veracity? Hashtags like Justice for Mar and Pray for Yandy began to rise at the same time as social media was booming once again. Fans were intensely engaged, discussing, speculating about what had truly transpired that night, which had transformed from a celebrity controversy into a full-fledged social discussion about relationships, power, and responsibility. Even the mainstream media started covering the subject, with legal experts commenting on what Tamar's case might suggest for future occurrences of this kind. A tale of love, treachery, enduring the bright spotlight of notoriety. What began as a private romance between three individuals has grown into one of the entertainment industry's most talked-about sagas. Yandy had to begin. Mendeecees had to deal with the terrible truth of a reputation that would never completely recover, and Tamar remained entangled in a public issue. Overall, it was evident that no one would ever be the same. Even though everyone involved seemed worn out by the pandemonium, fresh material kept coming to light in the weeks that followed, causing the scandal to evolve in unanticipated ways. People close to Tamar said that she was starting to question why she had ever trusted men in the first place. She reportedly told a friend that her main objective at this point was to find closure, and that she never wanted this. What had begun as a constructive relationship to assist her next project had turned into something that seemed totally uncontrollable. Yandy was handling her own problems in the meanwhile, making a lot of commotion. She had covertly filed for divorce in an attempt to shield her kids from the spectacle, but it seemed that was no longer an option. Her former love and hip-hop co-stars were being asked to comment on the stories in the media about her failed marriage. "Yandy has always been about her family," a former co-star said, while some couldn't resist spreading the accusations while others vehemently supported her. The comment resonated with those who had seen her endure years of highs and lows in public. If she's going away, it indicates that she has been pushed too far. Conversely, the Mendeecees had become more cautious. He eventually consented to participate in an exclusive interview after weeks of quiet, but things didn't go as expected. He stuttered when questioned about his purported connection to Tamar, even though it was meant to be his opportunity to defend his reputation and provide his side of the tale. As the interview went on, people observing his anxious motions, pauses, and times of avoiding eye contact, he maintained that his interactions with Tamar were entirely professional and that any social media erupted again, with fans arguing that rumors were individuals attempting to manufacture controversy where none existed. Clips from the chat went viral for days, raising questions about whether he was speaking the truth or only trying to control the story. Some said he was gaslighting the situation, while others thought he was contrite. It could no longer tell what was real, and maybe that's why viewers found the whole scenario so compelling. Tamar took the decision to speak to the public directly for the first time since the case started. She appeared on a talk program, seeming calm but obviously distressed. Although she didn't elaborate in her remarks, it was evident that she had experienced deceit, manipulation, and contempt. "I'm not here to condemn anybody," she muttered. "I'm here to regain my tranquility." I disregarded things for her remarks hit a deep chord, but I didn't want to come out as aggressive for too long. Sometimes quiet only shields the wrong people. In a couple of hours, the video received millions of views, and Yandy's divorce processes proceeded in the background while Tamar's comments resonated online. Records reveal that she had asked for sole custody of the kids, citing mental stress as one of the grounds for the divorce. According to someone close to her, Yandy was just worn out and no longer unhappy. According to the source, she just wants peace and is not interested in blame or retaliation. Even if she was done battling, peace didn't appear to be arriving. Every time she attempted to proceed, there were fresh reports that connected Mendeecees to fans started to take sides more strongly by this time, whether it was Tamar or something else. Others backed Yandy, arguing that she was the real victim of this circumstance, a lady who had loved profoundly and lost it, while others totally supported Tamar and praised her for her bravery and speaking out. A smaller number backed Mendeecees, arguing that the media was distorting the facts to harm the image of black males, blaming everything on the transgressions of others. Analyzing interviews, analyzing body language, and speculating about hidden meanings in song lyrics and captions took up whole social media threads. According to her friends, Tamar was resilient but worn out, and she tried to make sense of all that had occurred by keeping a daily blog. Yandy, on the other hand, had committed herself to Mendeecees, on the other hand, was apparently retreating from society, depending exclusively on a small core of close friends, and eschewing social media in favor of her profession and parenting, avoiding public appearances until absolutely essential. According to one source, he is upset with everyone, including Yandy for leaving, Tamar for speaking out, and the media for portraying him as a monster. But I believe he is secretly aware that he caused this catastrophe. Another surprising development was the release of an audio recording allegedly between Tamar and a close confidant, in which she spoke about a fight with Mendeecees that worried her. Despite the low audio quality, her tone sounded upset, and the audio rekindled interest in the court case, and conjecture reached new heights, despite Tamar's legal team's refusal to confirm or deny its validity, urging the public to respect the ongoing procedure. Yandy was in the headlines again, and she was trailed by paparazzi. Even though it was a simple occurrence, it served as a reminder of why she was so well respected, her ability to maintain her composure, everywhere she went in the hopes of receiving a comment or answer, but she stayed mute. Dignity even while her personal life was being ripped apart. In one widely shared video, she politely declined to respond to a question at a charity event, stating merely, "I'm focused on the positive at the moment." When it seemed that the story would finally come to an end, Tamar shared a lengthy, considerate rather than defensive comment on social media. Her message, which went viral, was about letting go and accepting that justice or an apology aren't always the best way to achieve closure, adding that sometimes peace means moving beyond what shattered you. She had a profound impact on both celebrities and fans. Even those who had before doubted her started to see her differently. New allegations that Mendeecees was drafting a countersuit for defamation and mental injury began to surface even as public opinion started to change. If accurate, this indicated that the conflict was far from over. According to court sources, the emotional harm had already been done, and legal talks may continue for months or perhaps longer. As Tamar, while Yandy and Mendeecees both made an effort to move on in their own ways, the issue of whether repentance was ever possible lingered in everyone's thoughts. On the other side, fans were unable to stop gazing. Had the damage already been too great? What had once been a private disagreement between three individuals had turned into a national preoccupation. The distinction between reality and this concludes this incredible chapter, or at least the most recent one, in what has turned into one of the year's most talked about scandals. Conjecture became unrecognizable. Everyone is shocked by the whole issue surrounding Tamar Braxton, Yandy Smith, and Mendeecees, from judicial drama to emotional breakdowns, from social media announcements to viral interviews. The internet just won't go away, supporters are split, and feelings are still fresh. Where they all wind up, however, is now the most crucial issue. Will Yandy's divorce be finalized and go on forever? Will speaking out ultimately provide Tamar the serenity she's been looking for? Moreover, how about Mendeecees? After all that has come to light, will he be able to restore his reputation? Or is it damaged beyond repair? We'll be watching for any developments as usual, but only time will tell. However, this tragedy has undoubtedly reminded everyone of how erratic the celebrity industry can be. Life can be. The same thing often happens to relationships formed in front of cameras, and people who go through it are left to deal with the fallout once the news fades, while spectators yearn for the drama. Everything you write is read by us. Please feel free to express your opinions in the space provided for comments below. Do you believe Yandy made the correct choice in going? Did Tamar's actions make sense, or did they go too far? How about Mendeecees? Did he bring about his own death, or was he a victim of the press? Please press the like button if you liked this detailed look into the most recent celebrity lunacy. To ensure you don't miss any changes, click the button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on alerts. There will always be fresh tales, unexpected twists, and drama behind the scenes. Additionally, we assure you that the next one will be much more ridiculous. As usual, continue to observe, be inquisitive, and keep an eye out.